watching New Vision TV News with me, Ruth, in a scheduled broadcast from the New Vision newsroom. We'll take a look at the news around Uganda, around East Africa, around the world, and later in this bulletin, we'll look at a special report. We start off with the news around Uganda. Kicking off this bulletin is a story from Arua district, where a huge number of youth who had turned up to be recruited for local defense unit on Monday ended in frustrations after several were turned away due to lack of necessary requirements. Stephen Anywa, a senior 3 leaver from Paworo sub-county in Madi district, said he missed because his skin rashes and scars were too much on the body. Sandy Abiyo was thrown out because of presenting a scanned ID copy. He said his original ID got burnt during a fire that erased their house. He was among those over 100 people asked to leave Arua police grounds after failing to meet the requirements. Major Caesar Orain, the public relations officer of the recruitment exercise, told New Vision on Monday at Arua police grounds that many had turned up. Among the requirements needed were a national identity card, P7 result slip, while others were overaged and underaged. One juvenile aged 17 years, identified as John Stone Ocham, was removed from the recruitment for being underage. Moving on to Kagadi District, the Inspector of Schools, Julius Alinda, and the teachers in the district have disagreed on whether to administer corporal punishment or not. Alinda had cautioned them against administering corporal punishment to school children as a means of enhancing quality education and fostering discipline in schools. He said corporal punishment was banned many years ago, yet teachers were still using it to punish children. He says corporal punishment inflicts pain and fear among the school children. However, the teachers said corporal punishment is helping private schools excel because discipline is maintained. In Lira district, the government is effort to uplift some of the big towns that were selected under the Uganda support to municipal infrastructure's development. The African Development Bank's support are being misused in other parts of the country. Lira municipality got the money, worked on roads using more than 10.1 billion shillings that was injected. However, the roads were being mismanaged. According to Freddie Owi, the acting Lira municipal engineer, there were about 4 roads that were in the project, but they are now in a sorry state. He said the municipality was to make sure all the infrastructure was put to better place, but the towns have failed to protect the project. Okay, locally, the Municipal Secretary of Works said they are getting lots of challenges in raising money to keep USMID projects because they are not making enough revenue. He said most of the business that was used to provide them with money, like Lira Bus Park, are now being taken under URA. He said even street security light poles and solar panels are being stolen. The mayor, Ogwanga Ora Veve, said they are soon coming up with a stronger enforcement to make sure this project is protected because they are still waiting for more projects to come. News from the capital, Kampala. Norway has donated 421 billion shillings for the fight against gender-based violence. The deputy head of mission of the Norwegian embassy, Zeina Chistomidis, commended the government of Uganda of ensuring security. She said the money will be used in creating an enabling environment for women to participate in peace and security processes. It would enable conflict prevention, conflict resolution, and peace building and recovery. She said Uganda has several years of experience in trying to implement a political commitment to the women, peace and security agenda.
And I am very encouraged by the approach of the government of Uganda and the approach that they've taken thus far in accelerating its efforts of implementing the resolution at the country level.
News from Gulu district. Politicians in northern Uganda will no longer be allowed to talk or make remarks, but only greet the people because they turn funerals into political ventures. The warning was made by the Anglican Bishop of the Diocese of Northern Uganda, the Right Reverend Johnson Gakumba. Gakumba was officiating at the burial service to send off the late Florence Akongo Ochora, the wife of the former Gulu resident district commissioner, the late Colonel Walter Ochora. Chora Adoch. Florence passed on at Nakasero Hospital in Kampala on Saturday, July 13th, the previous week after she succumbed to heart disease and was laid to rest at her husband's home at Obia in Gulu municipality. In Kamuli District, police are investigating the motive of the brutal murder that occurred on Sunday night, where Panga wielding men attacked a family and slaughtered the household head and his wife like goats. Chisule Ndurugendawa, 63 years, and his wife, Francis Namusambi, 47 years, a nursery teacher at Boko ECD Nursery School in Nabiguru sub-county, were hacked to death by their assailants who entered their house and hid in the room before attacking and killing them at around 1:30 a.m. Their 19-year-old daughter, Gloria Namgol, was also badly hacked and was rushed to Kamuli Mission Hospital before her conditions worsened and was referred to Mulago Hospital for further management. Two of the killers hacked the family in the house, while others stood in the courtyard to guard and repel a possible resident who would have rushed to intervene, according to the deceased's son, Emmanuel Mweba's 27 years, who was repelled by one of the assailants from accessing the house where his parents were being butchered. He told the New Vision, after completing the mission, the assailants dragged the blood-drenched bodies a few meters from the doorway before fleeing on a waiting boda. The police spokesperson for Busoga North, Michael Kasada, confirmed the incident, adding the police have embarked on investigating the brutal murder. The DPC, Mohammed Madiri, asked residents to quietly avail the police with clues connecting to the murder so that the culprits are brought to book. Closing off the news around Uganda is a story from Kaberamaido District. The Principal Assistant Chief Administrator of Kaberamaido District, Haman Ejoku, has told the Northern Uganda Social Action Fund beneficiaries to work hard for their households. While addressing the beneficiaries in Achero sub-county, Ejoku said the role of the government was to empower the communities such that they can do things by themselves. 6 different groups with about 100 beneficiaries received oxen and plows for farming. He warned some of the men who were engaged in early morning drinking, abandoning the productive work in their homes. The resident District Commissioner of Kaberamaido, George Edward Onyoa, said the beneficiaries had now an opportunity of fighting poverty. He said they will be keen to see that the beneficiaries do what they are asked from the government. He also said that it was unfortunate that some of the local people asked for what they cannot fulfill as per the plans. We now move on to news around the East African region. We start from Kenya, where the finance minister has surrendered himself to the police after the chief prosecutor ordered his arrest over allegations of corruption. Henry Rotich is accused of flouting procurement procedures in awarding a contract worth over $450 million, which is £405 million, for the construction of 2 dams to the Italian company CMC di Ravenna. Still in Kenya, Kenya has launched Africa's largest wind power farm in a bid to boost electricity generating capacity and to meet the country's ambitious goal of 100% green energy by 2020. The farm, known as the Electrocana Wind Power, will generate around 310 megawatts of power to the national grid and will reduce the country's electricity supply by 13%. President Uhuru Kenyatta said at the launch of the project on Friday. Moving on to Tanzania, in an effort to fight Ebola virus in the country, the Ministry of Health has acquired 9 walk-through thermal scanners that will soon be installed at airports. Ronald Subi, the Director of Preventive Services at the Health Ministry, says this will enhance the country's preparedness for detecting and managing imported cases of Ebola virus via airports. Uganda has since June not recorded any case of Ebola after the outbreak. Meanwhile, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, the latest victim, a preacher, died from the virus last week, joining over 1,500 recorded deaths. Closing off the news around East Africa is a story from Southeast Sudan. Reports coming in from Juba say the SPLM in opposition leader Dr. Riek Machar is in Addis Ababa. He will be there for a few days at the invitation of the Under Secretary General and Special Representative of the Secretary General of the United Nations on Sexual Violence in Conflict, Mrs. Parmila Patton. New Vision TV could not establish what the two are meeting over, but there is a real speculation it is related to the peace deal in Southeast Sudan. Unconfirmed reports also said Machar has requested to meet President Salva Kiir in Juba after he finishes the business that took him to Addis Ababa. We now look at the news around the world. We start from Egypt. Civil Aviation Minister has criticized British Airways after it suspended flights to Cairo, citing security concerns. In a meeting with UK Ambassador Geoffrey Adams, Younes Al Masril voiced his displeasure that the airline's unilateral decision had been taken without consulting Egyptian authorities. The British carrier said Saturday it had halted flights for a week following a security review without giving further details. In Sudan, a Sudanese civilian detained and allegedly tortured by security agents in a central town has died in custody. A doctors' committee linked to the country's protest movement said yesterday. The man died on Saturday in the town of Dilling in the state of South Kordofan after he was detained by agents of the feared National Intelligence and Security Services, the doctors' committee said in a statement. In Morocco, Averina announced on Sunday that he will be stepping down as Morocco coach after a disappointing Africa Cup of Nations campaign that saw his side knocked out by Benin in the last 16. The Frenchman had been in charge of Morocco since February 2016 and led the North African nation to their first World Cup in 2 decades in Russia last year. However, their shock penalty shootout defeat to Morocco came against a side reduced to 10 men in extra time after a youngster, Hakim Ziyech, slapped a sport kick of his own against the post in the final seconds of normal time. News from India. This afternoon, thousands gathered to witness India's second attempt to send a landmark spacecraft to the moon a week after a fuel leak forced the launch to be postponed. Indian scientists offered ritual prayers at temples near the base, according to media reports, and said they were confident that there would be no repeat of the problem that led to countdown being halted 56 minutes before last week's launch. The South African nation is bidding to become just the 4th nation after Russia, the United States and China to land a spacecraft on the moon. Closing off the news around the world is a story from the United Kingdom. Voting closes today in the contest to become Britain's next Prime Minister, with Boris Johnson expected to be confirmed as the winner, charged with delivering Brexit. After a month-long contest between former London Mayor Johnson and Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt, the postal votes of up to 160,000 grassroots Conservatives will decide the governing party's next leader. The voting window slams shut at 5 p.m. The result will be announced on Tuesday, with the winner immediately becoming the new Conservative leader, the victor taking place as Prime Minister on Wednesday. That is it for the news around the world. We now take a short break, but when we come back, we'll take a look at the news in business.